So, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for having me today. I'm very happy. It is the first time that the annual conference of the Green Bond Principles takes place in Italy, and specifically in Milan at the Bocconi. And I would like to explain why through my own experience. Because, first of all, I think that an important thing that you realize when you come to Italy is that there is an ideal of the great tradition, which is kalauagathia. The idea that a person, a professional, needs to strive for excellence in order to combine beauty and virtue, which in the great tradition, as the British say, are one. At the same time, having this meeting at Bocconi University reminds you of the fact of the motto of this university, which is knowledge that matters. You need to apply those values in reality for impact. And this is exactly what led me to enroll in this university after thinking of enrolling in classical philology, and has led effectively my professional development since. I joined at the time when figures like Mario Monti indeed clarified to students in this university that an external constraint can enhance the credibility that is required to fight inflation and reduce public debt. And I graduated from this university in monetary and financial economics with the idea that I would then try and move to a European career, which I did first in Germany and then joining the European Investment Bank at the end, well, in 1997. Why I'm saying this? Because it was run-up to monetary union, and the European Investment Bank, at the time, René Carsenti, who has been also CEO of ICMA, was Director General of the bank, and the bank developed important contributions to bridging that gap that separated the European Council of '95, when the way to monetary union was established, and the entry into force of the two regulations on the euro in 1998, a period of great turbulence and contractual uncertainty, where the EIB provided a number of important signals to the market. The first transaction with one-to-one conversion between AQ and euro, the euro tributary strategy, and the first euro-denominated issue, even before the euro existed, with provisions, of course, in documentation that would lead to the inception of the euro, to the redenomination into euro on predictable conditions upon monetary union. Why I'm saying this? Because in that period of time, I learned the relevance of three things. One, the importance of the narrative that European policy and European legislation can provide to markets. Second, the importance of predictability that documentation can provide and can be used in an autonomous manner, in a spontaneous manner, by relevant market participants like the EIB. The third one was indeed the relevance of an actor like the EIB at the crossroads between market and policy to make and implement things, to make things happen. This is exactly the approach that led to the very first green bond in 2007. It is at that point in time that, in fact, capital markets and the fight against climate change were reunited in concrete market initiatives. But I would like to highlight that the first green bond was in itself, a derivative of European legislation, because the European Investment Bank offered those bonds for the first time to all investors in the domestic markets of the European Union, using the passporting mechanism established by the Prospectus Directive of 2005. And I'm saying this because the EIB is not subject to European legislation, but opted in order to make that transaction possible. And of course, you need to sell bonds, and the topic of the moment was the fight against climate change and the action and the Energy Action Plan of the European Union of March 2007. Here you see the relevance of the legislative narrative for the market. There is a lot of Bocconi in that transaction. First of all, the transaction would have not been possible without the help of UniCredit. At the time, another graduate with me and Andrea of Bocconi University was Director General of UniCredit and in charge of distribution for the retail network of UniCredit. But also because, conceptually speaking, an important element was an article of Mario Monti of March 2007. Mario Monti was president of Bocconi at the time, in which he clearly stated that the value of Europe is in making things work. It was a comment to a report of the conference of the Episcopal conferences of the European Union, in which the Europe of values was underlined. And he said, independently from the cultural and religious heritage, what counts is the fact that Europe is able to make things happen. How so? Because the European approach to objectives like sustainable development see the single market as the core instrument to deliver that objective. If you look at Article 3 of the Treaty on the European Union, you find exactly this statement. And in order to foster the development of the single market, you need a single set of rules that permit the market to work better. And here I would like to underline a particular conception of legislation and regulation, which is not very frequently kept in mind. It is not just the element of coercion, the element of command that counts in this place. It is the concept, the Greek concept of isonomy, equality in front of the law. The fact that you can develop initiative and market initiative and liberty in markets only if everybody plays the same rules. And this is what has moved the European Union and the European Commission to intervene also in the area of sustainable finance. And this is exactly the approach that came on top in 2016 when the Union announced the intention to reform sustainable finance on the basis of, in the context of measures directed to fostering capital markets union, and exactly at the moment when the G20 highlighted effectively that lack of clarity in sustainable finance hampers investors' decisions. So this is what has led to the process of calibration, of course, in the course of time, that we have seen develop results today. At the EIB, it was the head of the capital markets, Ada Cravey, that was entrusted with this representation of market interests in the many technical debates that the European Commission arranged around this subject. So where do we stand today? You listened from the first panel to the fact that indeed the Green Bond principles have organized the market around common practices orientated towards a higher degree of comparability and standardization. Legislation comes on top. It is exactly because the Green Bond principles have done a good job that policymakers and legislators have been attracted to this area because they see the Green Bond market as a valued instrument for policy. And they want to increase the standardization of certain components already developed by the Green Bond principles to permit markets to work better. So what we have here is the eternal dilemma between use, the practice of a market or a community, and the lex, which needs to be brought together in order to have maximum efficiency and maximum benefit for the economy. And this is exactly what has led the work of the task force on official standards and the Green Bond principles. I have used this beautiful fresco, the good government from the Municipal Palace in Siena, as the guiding let's say, picture that has animated all of our efforts all along in the past 6 months. And what you can see here on the left-hand side, most beautiful than all, is exactly justice. Justice that inspired by sapience, by wisdom, basically inspires the weaving of concordia, the rope that keeps a society, citizens, and market participants together. This is what we have been striving for, highlighting the high proximity, the high synergy that exists between the Green Bond principles, the autonomous set of rules that the market has given itself, and the rules that are now coming on top, coming from the legislation. This very much corresponds to the vision of one of the founding fathers of the European Union, Jean Monnet, who is not remembered as such, but was an investment banker in between the wars. And in fact, I read his, an important part of the Schuman Declaration every morning when I cross the bridge, the Red Bridge, to go to work in Luxembourg. Europe is not going to happen at once. It will happen as a way, as a kind of process of small steps to go forward together. So I close here, but I would like to highlight that this is the approach that we have taken. And one important also result of our own experience in gradually aligning with the UGBS, after having been also chair of the Green Bond Principles, is that if you take legislation as a lighthouse, then the liberty of initiative can permit you to combine elements of the standard in a free way. Don't forget, the UGBS is a voluntary standard, and you can so enrich your already existing practice in the best possible way. Is it difficult? Yes, it is. And it is difficult to speak about these things. But here, and here I close, I would like to quote another illustrious, a very illustrious graduate of Bocconi University, Tommaso Padoa-Schioppa, one of the founding fathers of the euro, that 15 years ago or more, actually 20 years roughly, inaugurated the academic year here at Bocconi with a prolusion on melancholy and Europe. When melancholy and frustration which are inevitable in this kind of process, when you try and establish a certain vision of the world that is rooted in these principles, takes your spirit down, there is only one solution out, which is to look high up into yourself. And this is what animates me, as well as the future generations, I think, of Bocconi students, as I hope, will take this heritage forward for the benefit of the market and society and business at the same time. Thank you very much.